Have you ever felt like history is hiding something? Like the story we've been told is missing a few crucial chapters? What if I told you that lying dormant beneath the waves, a corroded hunk of metal held a secret so profound, it completely shatters our understanding of the ancient world? We're talking about a device so advanced, it simply shouldn't exist for its time. Prepare yourself, because the story of the Antikythera Mechanism isn't just about gears and bronze. It's about lost genius, a technological leap that vanished, and a chilling question. What else did we forget? Picture this, it's 1901. The turquoise waters around the tiny Greek island of Antikythera shimmer under the Mediterranean sun. A crew of sponge divers, hardy men making a living from the sea, are doing what they do best. They aren't archaeologists hunting for lost civilizations. They're businessmen seeking natural sponges. It's just another day, another dive, scanning the seabed for their valuable, porous harvest. But this dive would be different. One of the divers surfaces, breathless, not with sponges, but with a tale of eerie statues, horses, and men littering the ocean floor. They've stumbled upon a shipwreck, an ancient Roman vessel that met its end over 2 millennia ago. Imagine the excitement. Word spreads, and soon a major salvage operation, one of the first ever underwater archaeological expeditions, is underway, sponsored by the Greek government. Between 1900 and 1902, divers braved the depths, hauling up treasures that had been lost to time. Stunning bronze and marble statues, glittering gold jewelry, coins bearing the faces of long-dead emperors, elegant glassware. It was a bounty worthy of a museum. Amidst this glittering hoard, however, lay something unimpressive. A lump. Corroded, cracked, fused together by centuries under the sea, it looked more like a piece of rock encrusted with marine life than treasure. Roughly the size of a large dictionary or a modern shoebox, maybe a bit thicker. Covered in greenish patina, ugly, broken. It was initially catalogued with other miscellaneous metal finds and largely ignored. Why would anyone care about this rusty chunk when there were breathtaking sculptures and gold nearby? It was set aside, destined perhaps for a dusty corner in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. But then came the moment that changed everything. In May 1902, an archaeologist named Valerios Stais was examining the artifacts recovered from the wreck. He picked up that unassuming lump. Perhaps he noticed an unusual symmetry beneath the corrosion, or maybe a glint of something structured. He looked closer, and closer still. Then, disbelief must have washed over him. Inside a crack, peeking through the centuries of decay, he saw it, a gear wheel. A perfectly formed, toothed gear wheel, embedded within the ancient bronze. He pointed it out. People were skeptical. Gears in a 2,000-year-old artifact. It had to be a mistake, maybe something modern that fell onto the wreck or part of the ship's structure perhaps. But Stais was insistent. This wasn't just a gear, it looked like part of a complex mechanism. The implications were staggering, almost unbelievable. What was this thing? It wasn't a weapon, it wasn't jewelry, it wasn't a statue. It was a machine. An intricate machine pulled from the depths of ancient history. The object, later named the Antikythera Mechanism after the island near its discovery, had just announced its presence. History, as they knew it, was about to get a radical rewrite. The ignored lump was about to become the most important artifact recovered from that wreck, a technological marvel that defied explanation. So what exactly was this impossible object? For decades after Stais's initial observation, the mechanism remained an enigma. It was fragile, broken into 82 known fragments, and studying it was incredibly difficult. Early researchers could see the gears, could sense the complexity, but the full picture was elusive. Yet, even in its fragmented state, it whispered of something extraordinary. Let's be clear, this wasn't just a simple clockwork device. This was, as scientists eventually confirmed, the world's first known analog computer. Think about that. Not digital like our phones and laptops that run on code and electricity, but analog, using physical mechanical components, gears, dials, pointers to model and calculate complex information. It operated through the precise interaction of its moving parts. Turning a crank on the side set the whole intricate system in motion. And what did it compute? The cosmos, built by brilliant Greek minds sometime between 150 and 100 BCE, the height of the Hellenistic period, a time of great scientific and artistic flourishing after Alexander the Great. This device was a portable planetarium, a mechanical calendar, and an astronomical predictor all rolled into one. Imagine a device fitting roughly into a wooden box perhaps the size of a modern laptop bag or a hefty textbook, packed with at least 30, maybe more meticulously crafted bronze gears. Some of these gears were incredibly complex, featuring differential gearing, something previously thought to have been invented in the 16th century. Some gears were tiny, with teeth cut so precisely, so uniformly, that modern engineers examining them under microscopes were simply stunned. The level of craftsmanship was exquisite, far beyond what many believed possible for that era. This wasn't crude guesswork. This was precision engineering. What could it do? Track the sun and moon. Dials on the front likely showed the position of the sun and moon against the zodiac constellations. Predict eclipses. A sophisticated gear train on the back modeled the complex cycles needed to foresee both solar and lunar eclipses, including the famous 223-month Saros cycle. One specific gear even has 223 teeth, a direct mechanical representation of this astronomical period. Model planetary motion. Incredibly, it seems it could also track the movements of the 5 planets known to the ancients: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. This required incredibly complex gearing to account for their irregular-seeming paths across the sky, retrograde motion. Calendar functions. It incorporated calendars, including the Metonic cycle, a 19-year cycle aligning solar and lunar years, and the Callipic cycle, a more accurate 76-year cycle. Olympic Games timing. Inscriptions found on the device even indicate it tracked the timing of the Panhellenic Games, including the Olympics, showing when the next games were due in their 4-year cycle. Moon phases. A small, intricate sphere, half painted black, half silver or white, rotated to display the current phase of the moon, waxing and waning in perfect sync with the mechanism's calculations. This wasn't a mere decorative object or a rich person's toy, although it was undoubtedly expensive and commissioned by someone important. This was sophisticated technology. It represented a level of mechanical ingenuity and astronomical understanding that wouldn't be seen again in Europe for well over a millennium. Not until the great astronomical clocks of the late Middle Ages, around the 14th century, and even then, some features of the Antikythera mechanism remained unsurpassed. Its existence fundamentally challenged the narrative of a simple, non-mechanical ancient world. It was like finding a jet engine in a Roman chariot factory. Suddenly, the timeline felt wrong. The smooth progression we imagined from ancient simplicity to modern complexity was fractured. The ancient Greeks weren't just philosophers and sculptors. They were master mechanics and astronomers capable of building devices we barely understood. The discovery cracked open history, revealing a depth of knowledge and skill that had been utterly lost, raising profound questions. What else did they know? What other marvels did they create? And most hauntingly, why did this incredible technological leap seemingly vanish without a trace? Finding the mechanism was one thing. Understanding it was another beast entirely. For decades, it sat in the museum, captivating and frustrating researchers in equal measure. Early studies, relying on simple observation and basic X-rays, could only guess at its true function. The corrosion was thick, the fragments numerous, the internal structure incredibly dense. It was like trying to understand a smashed Swiss watch buried in concrete. Progress was slow, painstaking. Researchers like Derek J. de Sola Price in the mid-20th century made significant breakthroughs, identifying it as a calculating machine and proposing its astronomical functions. He famously called it a device of the same order of complexity as Southwit's modern chronometers. Yet, many details remained obscure, hidden within the corroded bronze. Then, in the 21st century, technology caught up with the mystery. Starting around 2005, an international collaboration, the Antikythera Mechanism research project, brought cutting-edge imaging techniques to bear on the fragile fragments. They employed high-resolution X-ray computed tomography, CT scanning. Think of a medical CT scanner, but vastly more powerful and precise, to peer inside the mechanism without causing further damage. They also used polynomial texture mapping, PTM, a technique that captures the surface shape and color from multiple angles, allowing researchers to see faint details under varying light conditions on a computer screen. What these technologies revealed was breathtaking. Layer by layer, the internal structure emerged from the digital darkness. The scans uncovered hidden gears, complex arrangements, and crucially, faint inscriptions etched onto the mechanism's surfaces. These weren't just random markings. They were essentially a user manual, written in ancient Greek Koine. Thousands of characters became visible, describing the cosmos, astronomical cycles, and the workings of the device itself. The team could finally count the teeth on hidden gears, trace the intricate connections between them, and understand their specific functions. The 223-tooth gear for the Saros eclipse cycle was confirmed. Another gear train accurately modeled the metonic cycle, evidence for incredibly sophisticated gearing to model the variable motion of the moon, following Hipparchus's theory, and even the complex paths of the planets emerged. They found pointers for dates, for the zodiac signs, for upcoming eclipses. The back dials, featuring elegant spiral layouts, were revealed to be complex calendars tracking multiple cycles over long periods. The little moon phase ball was rediscovered. It was like finding the original blueprints hidden within the machine itself. Researchers, including teams from University College London, UCL, Cardiff University, and experts worldwide, could now build detailed digital models and even physical reconstructions based on this wealth of new data. In 2021, the UCL team published a groundbreaking paper proposing a new model for the cosmos displayed on the front of the device, integrating previous findings and showing how the complex planetary motions could have been achieved within the mechanism's known dimensions, using remarkably ingenious gear trains consistent with Greek astronomical theories of the time. The evidence became undeniable. This machine worked. It wasn't just a theoretical model. It was a functional, predictive astronomical calculator of astonishing accuracy and complexity. It took the best astronomical knowledge of the Hellenistic period, knowledge gathered by Babylonian and Greek astronomers over centuries, and translated it into a precise, predictable mechanical form. The level of genius required, not just in astronomy but in micromechanics and gear design, was staggering. How did they figure out the complex ratios needed for the gear trains? How did they cut such precise teeth in bronze? How did they conceive of modeling the heavens mechanically in the first place? The ancient world suddenly seemed far less ancient and far more advanced. The Antikythera Mechanism isn't just a topic for academic journals and museum displays. Its implications resonate far beyond, tapping into a deep-seated curiosity about our past and the possibility of lost knowledge. This is where popular figures like Joe Rogan and Graham Hancock enter the conversation. Fast forward to April 23, 2019. Joe Rogan, known for his incredibly popular podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, which often delves into unconventional topics, is interviewing Graham Hancock. Hancock is famous and sometimes controversial for for his books and theories suggesting that sophisticated civilizations existed much earlier than mainstream history admits, often pointing to megalithic structures and enigmatic artifacts as evidence. Naturally, the Antikythera mechanism comes up. For Hancock, this device isn't just an anomaly, it's Exhibit A in his case for forgotten high technology in antiquity. He describes it vividly to Rogan's massive audience, not as some abstract scientific curiosity, but as a real ancient Greek computer. He emphasizes its known functions, tracking the planets, predicting eclipses with uncanny accuracy. He speculates it might have even been used for navigation, perhaps a form of ancient celestial GPS, helping sailors pinpoint their location by observing the stars, whose positions the mechanism could predict. You can almost hear Rogan leaning into his microphone, his characteristic blend of amazement and skepticism kicking in. He echoes the thoughts of so many who encounter the mechanism for the first time. How did they build this over 2,000 years ago? The conversation touches on the sheer incongruity of the device. It doesn't fit the standard historical timeline. As Hancock points out, nothing like it appears again for over 1,000, maybe 1,500 years. Where did the knowledge go? This is where the conversation takes a turn, moving from technological marvel to something more profound, even unsettling. Hancock posits his central thesis. Perhaps the Antikythera mechanism is a survivor, a rare glimpse into a much broader landscape of lost ancient knowledge. Maybe, he suggests, humanity reached a high level of technological and scientific sophistication before some catastrophe, devastating wars, natural disasters like comet impacts or floods, themes Hancock often explores. Societal collapse wiped the slate clean, plunging the world into a dark age and erasing countless achievements from memory. The mechanism in this view isn't the start of something, but potentially the end of something, a lingering echo of a forgotten golden age of knowledge. Rogan, clearly captivated, doesn't dismiss the idea. His reaction, often paraphrased as "that's insane, man," captures the mind-bending implications. If this existed, what else did? Were there other machines, other forms of advanced knowledge we can't even conceive of? The discussion on JRE brought the Antikythera mechanism and its unsettling questions to a huge global audience, framing it not just as an archaeological curiosity, but as potential evidence for a radically different version of human history. It tapped into that feeling that maybe, just maybe, we were more advanced long ago than we currently believe, and that progress isn't always a steady upward climb. The focus shifted from the gears themselves to the unnerving silence that followed them, the vast gap in the technological record. It made the mystery personal, connecting it to deeper questions about human potential, fragility, and the cycles of civilization. You'd think finally understanding the Antikythera mechanism, cracking its code after a century of effort, would be a moment of pure triumph. We did it. We figured out the ancient computer. High fives all around, right? But for many who delve deep into its story, the feeling is different. It's less celebratory, more somber. Solving the mystery feels less like a win and more like confronting a loss. It carries a weight, a feeling akin to a punch in the gut. Why? Because confirming its sophistication, its sheer brilliance, forces us to confront the staggering implications of its disappearance. We know now. It's not speculation anymore. The ancient Greeks, or at least some brilliant minds among them, possessed the knowledge and the skill to accurately model the cosmos as they understood it, translate complex astronomical cycles into precise mechanical reality, engineer intricate gear, trains far ahead of their time, manufacture components with remarkable precision. We've seen the proof in the CT scans, deciphered the instructions, built working replicas. It's real, and that is precisely the problem. If they could build this masterpiece of engineering and computation over 2,000 years ago, where did it lead? Why didn't this spark a mechanical revolution? Why don't we see Antikythera Mechanism 2 or 3 with improvements and new features? Why didn't this lead to advanced clocks, automated tools, or other complex machines spreading throughout the Roman world and beyond? It didn't. After the era of the Antikythera Mechanism, the historical and archaeological trail for this kind of complex geared technology goes cold, utterly cold. For over 1,000 years, through the entire Roman Empire, the Dark Ages, the early Middle Ages, nothing comparable emerges. It's as if this blinding flash of genius ignited, shone brilliantly for a brief moment, and then was extinguished, leaving only darkness in its wake. That's the source of the unease, the punch-in-the-gut feeling. It means we, as a civilization, lost something incredibly valuable. We didn't just misplace a clever gadget, we potentially lost a whole trajectory of technological development. Knowledge vanished, skills disappeared, genius was forgotten. Think about it in today's terms. Imagine if, after the invention of the first microprocessors in the 1970s, the knowledge was somehow completely lost. No computers, no internet, no smartphones for the next 1,000 years. It's almost unthinkable, yet something analogous seems to have happened with the sophisticated mechanical knowledge embodied in the Antikythera Mechanism. This is why Graham Hancock calls it a warning. The mechanism serves as a stark, tangible reminder that human progress is not guaranteed. It's not a smooth, inevitable upward curve. Civilizations can rise, achieve incredible things, and then fall, taking their knowledge with them into oblivion. We can regress. We can forget. We can lose centuries, even millennia of advancement. So yes, the technical mystery of how the mechanism worked is largely solved. But that solution throws open a much larger, more disturbing mystery. How did we, humanity, let this brilliance slip through our fingers? What combination of war, disaster, societal collapse, or perhaps even deliberate suppression allowed such profound knowledge to be buried under the dust of ages? We solved the puzzle of the gears, only to be confronted by the haunting puzzle of our own collective amnesia. Let's appreciate for a moment the sheer scientific detective work involved in resurrecting the Antikythera Mechanism from its corroded slumber. It wasn't just one person or one aha moment. It was decades of painstaking effort by interdisciplinary teams, building on each other's work and leveraging increasingly sophisticated technology. Remember, the mechanism wasn't a complete object, but 82 known fragments, many small, all heavily corroded and incredibly fragile. For the longest time, physically examining the internal layers was impossible without destroying the artifact. Early researchers like Price used conventional X-rays, which provided shadowy glimpses but couldn't resolve the fine details or differentiate overlapping gears clearly. The game changer was the application of advanced imaging in the early 2000s. The Antikythera Mechanism Research Project, a collaboration involving experts from Greece, the UK, notably Cardiff University and later UCL, the US, and supported by companies like X-Tech Systems, now Nikon Metrology, and Hewlett-Packard, brought serious technological firepower. Microfocus X-ray computed tomography, CT. This was crucial. Unlike medical CT, these specialized scanners used much higher resolution X-rays to penetrate the dense bronze and digitally slice the fragments into thousands of cross-sections, only micrometers thick. Sophisticated software then reconstructed these slices into interactive 3D models. Suddenly, researchers could digitally fly through the mechanism, separate virtual layers, count the teeth on previously invisible gears, and trace how they interconnected. This revealed the true complexity hidden within, confirming around 30 gears initially, with later studies suggesting even more. Polynomial texture mapping, PTM, reflectance transformation imaging, RTI. While CT revealed the inside, PTM RTI illuminated the surface. By taking multiple digital photos of a fragment under light sources from dozens of different angles, specialized software could create a virtual surface model. Researchers could then manipulate the angle and intensity of digital light on their computer screens, revealing incredibly faint surface details. Crucially, the inscriptions that were invisible to the naked eye or under standard lighting. This allowed them to decipher thousands of Greek characters engraved on the front, back, and even internal plates. Collaborative analysis. The data generated was immense. It required astrophysicists to interpret the astronomical cycles, mathematicians to understand the gear ratios, classicists and epigraphers to read the ancient Greek inscriptions, engineers to comprehend the mechanical design, and historians to place it all in context. Digital models allowed this global team to share findings, test hypotheses, and collaboratively piece the puzzle together. Through this process, they confirmed not just the Saros cycle, 223 teeth and metonic cycle, likely a 19-year scale corresponding to 235 lunar months, but also evidence for the Callippic cycle, a more accurate 76-year cycle. The Exeligmos cycle, a 54-year triple Saros used for more precise eclipse prediction, and the sophisticated gearing needed to model the planet's tricky movements, including Venus and Mercury. The inscriptions acted like chapter headings and explanatory notes, confirming the device's purpose and functions, naming celestial bodies, and describing phenomena. They essentially reverse-engineered a 2,000-year-old analog computer from its shattered remains using 21st-century technology. The 2021 UCL model represents a culmination of this work, proposing a plausible mechanical structure for the entire known functionality, fitting within the likely original dimensions, and consistent with the fragmentary evidence and the known astronomical theories of the period, like those of Parmenides, Hipparchus, or others. But even with this incredible success, the science highlights the remaining questions. The proposed models, while brilliant, still involve some interpretation due to the missing fragments, and the biggest scientific question remains unanswered by the technical analysis. If this level of mechanical and astronomical sophistication existed, where is the evidence for its development, its precursors, or its successors? The science that revealed the genius of the mechanism simultaneously deepened the mystery of its isolation in history. This brings us to the most haunting question of all: why the vanishing act? We've established the Antikythera mechanism was real, functional, and brilliant. We've marveled at the science used to uncover its secrets. So, why is it seemingly a technological orphan? Why no Antikythera mechanism mark II? Why the 1,000-year silence? Several compelling theories attempt to explain this baffling gap. 1. Destruction and loss of knowledge, the war theory. The period when the mechanism was likely created and used, roughly 2nd and 1st centuries BCE, was tumultuous. Roman power was expanding across the Mediterranean. Greece was conquered by Rome, culminating in events like the brutal sack of Corinth in 146 BCE. Libraries were burned, like parts of the Library of Alexandria over time. Centers of learning were disrupted, and skilled artisans and scientists could have been killed, displaced, or had their workshops destroyed. Perhaps the specific knowledge required to design and build such complex devices was held by only a few individuals or schools, and these lines of transmission were broken during the chaos of war and conquest. Once the masters were gone and their manuals lost, the craft simply died out. 2. Material scarcity and recycling, the practical theory. Bronze, the primary material of the mechanism, was valuable in the ancient world. It was essential for weapons, armor, statues, and tools. An intricate machine like the Antikythera mechanism would have been incredibly expensive to produce. If such a device broke, or perhaps when its owner died, it might have been seen as simply a lump of valuable scrap metal. Why keep a complex, non-functional device when the bronze could be melted down and repurposed for something immediately useful or profitable? It's possible many such devices existed but were simply recycled over the centuries, leaving little trace. Only those lost in shipwrecks, hidden away, or buried might survive, making finds like the Antikythera Mechanism exceptionally rare. 3. Elite technology, the secrecy theory. Perhaps this wasn't technology for the masses or even for typical engineers. Maybe it was a highly specialized tool created for and understood by only a select few elite astronomers, priests studying omens in the sky, wealthy patrons fascinated by cosmology, or perhaps even high-level navigators. The knowledge might have been closely guarded, considered arcane or even sacred, not meant for widespread dissemination. If the group holding the secret died out or lost influence, the knowledge would vanish with them, leaving no broader technological legacy. 4. We just haven't found them yet, the hopeful theory. The Antikythera shipwreck proves that incredible artifacts can lie hidden beneath the waves for millennia. Underwater archaeology is still a relatively young field, and vast areas of the seabed remain unexplored. Who's to say there aren't other Antikythera-like devices resting in other wrecks, or perhaps buried under collapsed buildings on land, or even sitting in museum basements, misidentified as random lumps of corroded metal? Discoveries are still being made at the Antikythera wreck site itself. In expeditions between 2012 and ongoing efforts, divers have found more pottery, ship components, and even a bronze disc decorated with a bull, though likely not part of the mechanism. It shows the site isn't exhausted. Perhaps the Antikythera mechanism wasn't unique, just the first of its kind we've found. Maybe its siblings are still out there, waiting for their Valerio-Stiles moment. Each of these theories likely holds a piece of the truth. The disappearance was probably due to a combination of factors: the fragility of specialized knowledge in times of turmoil, the practical value of the materials, the potentially restricted nature of the technology, and the sheer luck involved in archaeological discovery. But the fact remains: the gap is real and profound. It forces us to confront the possibility that what we think of as the ancient world was far more complex and capable than we imagine, and that significant parts of our own technological heritage might be lost not just to time, but to history itself. The silence following the Antikythera mechanism isn't just an absence of evidence. It feels like evidence of absence, a chilling reminder of how easily brilliance can be erased. The Antikythera mechanism is more than just an ancient artifact. It's a mirror reflecting our own assumptions about the past, progress, and the fragility of knowledge. Its journey from an ignored lump on the seabed to a recognized marvel of ancient engineering forces us to reconsider the capabilities of those who came before us. It tells us that genius isn't exclusive to our modern age, and that technological advancement isn't always a steady, linear climb. What's the lesson here for us, living in an age of unprecedented technological acceleration? Perhaps it's a profound call for humility. We stand on the shoulders of giants, yes, but some of those giants might be far older, and their shoulders far broader than we previously thought. It's also a stark reminder to value and preserve knowledge actively. The story of the mechanism's disappearance, whatever the exact cause, highlights how easily complex understanding can be lost through conflict, neglect, or societal upheaval. Are we diligently safeguarding our own era's knowledge for future generations, or are we susceptible to our own forms of forgetting in the digital age? Maybe the deepest lesson is about resilience and the cyclical nature of human endeavor. We rise, we achieve amazing things, sometimes we fall, and sometimes we have to rediscover what was once known. The Antikythera mechanism whispers that even after periods of decline or dark ages, the spark of human ingenuity can reignite, perhaps unknowingly retracing steps taken long ago. So, as we look back at this incredible ghost in the machine, let's carry forward not just the awe, but also the questions it raises. How much of our history is still hidden, waiting to be discovered in the depths of the sea or buried beneath the earth? What other, impossible artifacts might challenge our understanding? And how can we ensure that the knowledge and brilliance of our own time endure, avoiding the silent fate that befell the creators of this ancient wonder? Keep asking questions, keep exploring, keep learning. The universe and our own history within it is far more mysterious and wondrous than we often allow ourselves to believe. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of an ancient mystery. I hope this story sparked your curiosity and gave you something to ponder. I wish you all good health, sharp minds, and a continued sense of wonder about the world around us and the history beneath our feet. What do you think happened to the knowledge behind the Antikythera Mechanism? Was it war, neglect, or are there more waiting to be found? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive and want more stories that challenge assumptions and explore the fascinating edges of history, science, and human potential, please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support helps keep these explorations going. Hit that subscribe button, and let's continue uncovering the mysteries together.